All right, coaches, thanks again for tuning in to the Minnesota Basketball Coaching Podcast. We have Kyle Allen from Pine City today as our guest. Coach had a lot of publicity here in the last couple of years with their style of play, which we'll get to. But Coach, thanks for joining.
I'm excited to be here. I appreciate you having me.
As you know, our first question is the coaching Wikipedia page. So tell us where you played, where you've been, and what led you to the Dragons.
So I played my high school ball in Black River Falls, Wisconsin. Was fortunate enough to play collegiately at the College of St. Scholastica under David Stenniger. Had a 4-year career there. Took a teaching job in the Houston, Texas area. Taught at in Clear Creek ISD just south of Houston 1 year. And then took a head assistant job at South Houston High School under Patrick McCoy. And did 1 year there, and then was fortunate enough to be offered the job at Pine City. So I'm entering year 9 or 10 here at Pine City. It's been a roller coaster. It's been fun. I've been very fortunate to be able to have the ability and power to build the program like I saw fit, and that's been probably the most exciting part of it. Being in Pine City, they've allowed me to do what I felt I wanted to do, even when it was a little zany or a little off or different.
So for those that might not be familiar with Pine City, they're in Section 628, which we had Ryan Dusha from Melrose on a couple weeks ago, who they were in their section final game against Mora. But Pine City was 26-3 as the 7 seed and number 21 QRF team in Class 2A. So talk about that section and then winning, 26 games or whatever, 24 games in the regular season and being the 7 seed.
Yeah, it's a section of death. I mean, it's an unbelievable section. The coaches, the teams, the programs that are in that section, top to bottom, are just unbelievable. So when we got moved to 6, I knew we were in for it a little bit in terms of that. So we've worked hard to try to improve our QRF as best we can. We've worked hard to make sure that we're doing everything we can to put ourselves in a good situation. But, unfortunately, we dropped 2 games in the regular season this last year, and we were the 7th seed in our section. So I think that speaks to how good our section is and how much competition there is between the teams. So we've set a goal that our goal is to have a home playoff game. So we want to do everything we can to give ourselves a home playoff game, and then we'll let the cards kind of fall as they will after that. So we haven't been fortunate enough to be the higher seed in that second round game yet, but that's okay. We don't mind playing the underdog sometimes as well. And in that section in 6, we look at it at the end of the year and we end up coming out with 10 teams that were like this. This team could win it. This team could win it. And I think this last year was no different. Mora was a phenomenal team. Is going to be another great team. Eden Valley Watkins, Melrose. We're just happy to be in that conversation in terms of that section being in the conversation of being a team that could maybe win it. Because every year you're just looking at a lot of teams that could go down and win that if they got on the right hot streak. Because it's that good of coaches, it's that good of competition, it's that good of players that are coming through those programs in 6.
It's unique, being in Princeton. We're close to a lot of the teams in your section. I mentioned with Ryan when I had him on, just being kind of in the east of St. Cloud area. But the thing is with that, 2A section is there is year in and year out, there's a half dozen of scholarship basketball players every year that are coming out of that section. So talk about, maybe your regular season schedule or your conference schedule doesn't prepare you as much for some of that high level talent, but how do you go, you're facing Osakis or Eden Valley Watkins or Melrose or Annandale, guys who got scholarship level kids year in and year out, or at least the last couple of years. So talk about how your preparation when you're going against a team who has a couple studs who are maybe outside of the norm for traditional 2A basketball.
Yeah, so we try to schedule as much we can in the off season, and obviously this off season has been crazy. So we haven't been able to do the things that we're used to doing, but we try to play as many different schools as possible. Trying to play big schools, trying to play small schools. We want all the kind of the experiences that we can get. And then when we get to our season, we have some games on the schedule that we really circle in terms of like preparation for playoffs. We've been fortunate enough to have some 3A schools on the schedule that have beaten us down a few times in the years, which is okay. We appreciate that we can take that beat down a little bit and be able to prep ourselves a little better for the playoff run. we kind of start looking at the playoffs. I mean, we think we look at it a little early. Maybe we don't, but we start looking at it, sometime after Christmas in terms of like who we think is going to be where, and then we start scouting and making sure that we have an idea of who it's going to be. We don't play a lot of the top end section teams in our section traditionally, partially because of distance, but partially because our schedule's full, and we want to play these bigger schools in our area. So we will start looking at these teams early on and try to pinpoint some ideas that are behind them, and hopefully have an idea that we can start prepping in then into games that we have coming up, and we can be more specific in what we want to do into a certain game in preparation for another team and or in practice as we're setting our things up of what we want to do. So we really have to be forthright in starting early. We have to be really forthright in knowing what we want to do and how we want to do it and getting ready for that. So, we had a plan this upcoming year for Eden Valley Watkins, Melrose, Osakis, Mora. If you go down the list, we had a plan in place for each of those teams based on if we were going to play them or not. And the hope is then we're just able to execute it. And, that comes down to high school basketball. If you're able to do that or not, I mean, that's the deal breaker right there.
So for those of you that, maybe have heard of Pine City basketball, you've probably heard it because you mentioned you have a little zanier style of play that your school and your administration and community's kind of gotten behind. I know you've gotten quite a bit of attention. You had a nice little Wall Street Journal article written up on you guys a couple years ago talking about your style of play. So to those that have no idea or are not familiar, just give us a general overview, then we'll kind of dive into the details. But start with an overview of your guys' offensive style of play.
Yeah, so we were really lucky. I still don't quite understand today how that happened. We were able to get this article written, and it was fun. It was crazy. But we do things a little differently. So when I took over in 2011, 2012, I think we won 5 games my first year. I think we won 7 my second. And so we started looking at what I believed in philosophically as a coach and what the numbers were telling us. And we kind of took those two things and put them together and tried to make a system out of it. And we were lucky enough to do that. So offensively, we try to only take 3 shots. We only take 3-pointers, layups, and then we want to get to the free throw line. So not a 15-foot jumper, but a free throw itself. We try to really only take those shots. And we work really hard to have everything we do based around that. So every drill that we do ends in one of those shots on the offensive end. We don't ever take a mid-range shot in practice unless the kid is screwing around. It's just not there. Our kids don't have the repetitions of it. And so every year we have kids come in and just to be different, they want to shoot mid-range. And part of this has been getting kids to buy in, and that's been the biggest thing is could we get kids to buy into doing something different, doing something crazy, doing something out of the ordinary in everything we do on all ends of the court. And so that's where it kind of started, and we kind of evolved it since then. So we talked to them about, okay, so we practice, shooting catch and shoot threes. We practice getting to the rim. If we want to add mid-range, we have to do X, Y, and Z. And if we do that, what are we taking away? So we said we're going to simplify it. We're going to say we have this amount of time. We have this skill set. We have kids that are willing to work on these things. Let's work on those things. So we got kids that will come in and put up 1,000 shots on the shooting machine. The Dr. Dish is awesome. They can catch. They can shoot. That's a skill set. It was a lot harder to get a kid to come in and work on their 2 crab dribble to the left, or their swoop through and under to the right, or their post-up game. I mean, we just couldn't get kids to come in and do it. So we said, all right, let's not work on it then. Let's take it out of the repertoire. And so that's basically, in theory, what we have. So we came up with, a space and pace concept. We use 6 perimeter spots on the offensive end. We go each corner. Free throw line extended each side, and then lane line each side. And those are our 6 spots we really fight for on the offensive end. And then we have since added spots on the interior that we use in terms of like our screening and our play call and sets. But everything's really connected into those. So, when we start practice, we're putting dots down on those spots, and that's how we're setting plays. So everything revolves around those spots, and everything moves into those spots. So whether we're in our 5 out, our 4 out, 1 in, our 3 out, 2 in, a motion, whatever we're in, it all revolves around the same concepts and the same things. So it's on the offensive end, it's been about repetition. We get up a lot of shots. We take time to get up a lot of shots. We set aside practice time for guys to just shoot. And then the hope is that translates itself to the games. And so we got kids that are hopefully catching and shooting the basketball. And then we add the ability to hopefully get to the rim. And the hope is that if we execute correctly, we should get an open look somewhere. So the other thing we've had to do is we've had to change the mindset of the offensive end. So I think a lot of kids, and I don't think this is out of the ordinary, but like the goal of offense is to score, and that's not our goal. Our goal is to get a shot. Our goal is to get a look from where we want, and then our job is to celebrate that we did what we were supposed to do. And the goal is that if we accomplish our goal of getting the look, we should come out on top more often than not. So we've played the numbers game, the idea of like, we'll take the bigger percentage than the smaller percentage. And so we'll shoot the 3 over the mid-range. We'll shoot the layup over the mid-range. We'll be worried about getting a shot versus about getting the right shot, because we'll take the opportunity that we had the chance to score over the opportunity that you didn't have the chance to score.
So coach is talking here about threes and layups, which obviously in 2020 is very common language in the basketball world. But I've had the ability to watch every year. I end up seeing your North Branch game with our conference film exchange, and North Branch being the conference team. I always watch that game. And this isn't like the philosophical, all right, let's shoot threes and layups, but we're probably going to get a handful of mid-range shots. Like probably a lot of teams are saying, no, you guys are like extreme with your amount of 3-pointers. So talk about, because anyone's listening, like, all right, yeah, great. Like they shoot threes and layups. I heard that song and dance before, but you guys are different. So just talk about the amount of threes that you guys shoot in a game. And then what maybe some of your target numbers are for attempts and percentage.
So we our percentage is we've made it as simple as possible. We want to shoot 50% from inside, and we want to shoot 30% or more from outside. And that's been our breaking point, because again, we're dealing with high school athletes, and in 2A, we in our circumstance, we're hosting hockey, we're hosting wrestling, we have lots of activities. We are not necessarily a ginormous school with lots of space. So you get the kids you get. And so we're excited when a kid wants to play basketball, and we bring them in, and that's the skill set you get. So we have to adjust what we're doing around that. And so we thought this was the simplest way to go about it. So 30% is kind of our number that we're shooting for from the outside, and 50% from the inside. And again, the hope is that, we're taking out those low percentage shots. We're just exiting them out. We're not, I know that there are kids out there that have the ability to shoot the mid-range. I'm not saying it's not an important part of basketball. I'm saying it's not an important part of our program. I think there are systems that are in place that have that. I think I think there's a place for it. There's just not a place for it in our system. And so we don't shoot it. I think I would have to guess that we shot 15 shots on the season last year that weren't within 5 feet or a 3-pointer.
15, 1-5, right?
1-5 on the season. And half of those were probably a mistake. I had one kid that wanted to shoot him last year, and I told him, if you shoot it and you miss it, you're sitting next to me. End of story. So he'd shoot it, and he'd make it, and he'd get this sheepish look on his face, look over at me, and then he'd miss it, and he'd just start walking to the bench because he knew it was over. He was going to come sit. So we've just taken it out. We've just taken it out of their minds. We've put the onus on us. It's our decision, so it's not something they have to worry about. We get up a lot. It depends. I think sometimes teams try to take away the 3-point, and sometimes teams try to take the layups away. I think it's really, really hard to take both away. And that's why we do it, is because the hope is we get one or the other. So we have games where we only get up 23s, and that's weird, because that's kind of been our MO, is that we shoot a lot of them. But sometimes that happens, and then sometimes we get up 60-plus. So it really depends on the matchup and what the defense gives us. That's the hope, is that we have both in our arsenal, that we have the ability to score at the rim, and we have the ability to shoot outside, and we'll take whichever one we're given. But it's all about pace and space. It's all about getting the ball up the floor. We want to go in transition as much as possible. I mean, we think it's a fun brand of basketball. I grew up in in the Wisconsin flex where you worked the ball around, you got in passes,
Sorry, I threw up a little bit there. And
yeah. That's what I grew up in. And, we have the flex in our offense. I don't know the last time we've run it that it wasn't a discipline. I think there's a time and place for it. I really like it, partially because I'm biased because I grew up in it, but our kids don't run it. They don't know how to run it. So we have it there, but it's all about pace and space and getting the ball off the floor. We have calls where we want to get a certain look, but for the most part, we give a lot of freelance on the offensive end, and we let kids just play offense.
So 63s in some games, like 6-0. So what were some of we shoot a lot of threes, and we're usually like 13 for 30. That's kind of like our normal game. And we feel like, holy crap, we got a lot of threes. And you guys have had games where you're shooting in the 60s, which is just mind-boggling to me as someone who shoots a lot of threes. But I've seen the film. I watched the video breakdown. That Wall Street Journal article is out. Like it's legit, and they're all good shots. They're open shots. They're the shots that you guys want to get in your offense. So let's go backwards a bit. So you install this philosophy, or you install this, this core principle of your program. What was the immediate reception by your players and then just the basketball community as a whole?
I think originally the players were pretty bought in just because it was, I think originally we called it video game basketball because it was what every kid was doing when they were playing their video games. I mean, they either dunked it or they shot a three. So we had a lot of kids buy into it, and they were willing to work on it because it was things they were willing to do. So I think that was the biggest part that helped us. Locally, I think anytime you make change in a small community, you get backlash. And so we had that. I had people, giving me their opinion on things, and that was awesome. And we took it all in and then decided to move forward how we did. I think the biggest thing was when the Wall Street Journal came out. I had hundreds of emails coming in every week, and I'd say 50% of them were like people just wanted to rip me apart. And I have a folder still. I checked the first one that I saw was negative, and I read it, and I was like, I can't, I got told you're ruining the game of basketball. You are a demon. I was just getting all kinds of this. And I only read that one. The rest of them just went into the folder that I saw were going to be negative off the start. But it was an interesting time period. I was like 25, 26 years old or something like that, and just getting hammered by these people all over the world. But yeah, I think it's the norm. I don't want to say what we do is the norm because we take it to the extreme, but if you look at like NBA shot charts, if you're looking at college shot charts, if you look at any of that, everyone has gravitated towards this three-pointer layup mentality on the offensive end. We just happen to take it to the extreme. We go as far as we can with it. Whether that's good or bad or otherwise, I don't know. It happens to work for us just because we get kids to work on it. I think that's the linchpin is I don't have a scholarship kid, a kid that's going to go to Kentucky. I don't have kids that are, these. We love our kids. We love their skill set. We love what we've been able to do with them. But we don't have, in the article of the Wall Street Journal, they were comparing Shaq's son team to our team. And it's like, well, I don't have Shaq's son. So the awesome part with us is we're getting more kids out. We're getting kids that want to play. We're getting kids that want to do this. And I think they're enjoying it. And I think that you have to go back to the roots of high school basketball. That's what we all want to do, right? We all want to have an impact on kids. We want to give them a great experience. We want them to enjoy themselves. And I think this system has allowed us to do that to a certain degree.
What I love about what you said earlier was that you're giving the kids freedoms to make plays. It's not like you're grinding out a set to get the three-point shot that you want. I think that's the big thing to take away. And regardless if you think Kyle's nuts for shooting 63s a game, some games, or not, or if you think he's, or if you think he's a demon, or if you think he's like your inbox is filled up with, or if you think that he's a genius. It's the bigger idea, is the bigger principle at place that you're giving kids an opportunity to have freedom and enjoy playing basketball because, we're in the same boat, right? We don't have, scholarship players coming through, and you got to find those hidden values within your system. And, I think that when you have, like you mentioned, kids who are maybe, you probably have multiple sport athletes, and this will be the end of their basketball careers after they play for you, is you want to provide an opportunity where they're enjoying basketball. And within that, you're going to get better output from them if they're enjoying the game versus, oh, God, we go from football where we, dive, play action, every time we huddle up and run a play, then we go to basketball where we do that. And it's like, you want to give kids an opportunity to have freedom and to enjoy what they're doing, because that's going to give them, like I said, better output and have better performance.
I really had to change my mindset, coming in at, I think I took the job at like 22, 23. I came in as a very disciplinary coach. Not that I think I still am, but you want to have control over everything, and you wanted to, have your fingerprint on everything. And I really had to learn how to let go. I've had to learn how to let kids be kids and remember that this is high school sports, and remember that, this is an experience, and allow them to have that freedom to enjoy themselves. I think that's been a big part of it for me, just personally, just as I look back on the years. And I've had, in a small town, I'm with these kids for a long time. These kids start with me in 7th grade. A lot of them I've known since kindergarten, because, we're running our camps, our youth camps all year long. So I know these kids from the beginning, and then they really start working with me in 7th grade. That's a long career to be with me. And I tell them that. I say, you need a break from me. You need a break from basketball. You need a break from all this. But then when we come back together, we want to get after it. And, there's those expectations in place. But we have a lot more discipline on the defensive end than the offensive end in our system.
I do want to talk about defense here down the road, but I want to stay with this offense. I think this is so intriguing of a topic and just a unique perspective to hear from. I want to go to the youth programming with this. So obviously your 4th graders aren't probably jacking up a bunch of threes. If they are, that's great. I want to hear about it. But I want to know about how you are able to install this mentality at the youth age, but also still working on shot form and development, and not having kids throwing from their hip 22 feet away.
Yeah, so we work a lot I don't think this is new, but we work a lot in the guard sets with our young guys. We train everyone to be a guard. We want everyone to be able to dribble the basketball. We want everyone to pass. And the theory is that eventually we'll work on the shot. So the shot kind of comes around 7th grade. 7th grade is when we really start letting them just throw it up at the rim and see what happens. And it's ugly. I mean, we got these 7th and 8th graders right now that are just fearlessly throwing the ball at the rim, and they might be ending up on the wrong court. It's where it's at. And that's okay. We want them to just have that mindset of shooting open shots, shoot open shots. The goalie off, shoot an open shot. The goalie off, shoot open shot. So we really push that hard on them. So when they're in the young grades, we start a travel ball in 3rd grade. We're doing youth camps K through 6. It's a lot of dribbling. It's a lot of movement. It's a lot of passing the basketball. And I think at that age, the goal is to get a layup, and that's it. We just want to be able to score a few points. And the big thing we've taken from it is we just want them to have fun. So whatever we can do to have them have fun, we do. We'll do competitions of, at the end, who can make a 3. First guy to make a 3 gets this. And just to put it in their mindset of like, this is what we're going to do. This is important. This is how it rolls. And we know they're not physically able to do it correctly at that point in time. So we work a lot on, we installed, everyone installed the charge circle in. We had it installed in every hoop, side hoop, elementary school, everywhere. And we talk about that being the 3-point line. We talk about when we're doing our practice shooting, our form shooting, well, this is your line. You're a young guy. This is your line. This is where we're going to shoot from. And just getting the mindset of the line, getting it all there. So we do a lot in terms of the guard work. That's what we spend our time. But the other part is we just let them have fun. We just want them to enjoy themselves. We want them to experience. And what I tell my youth coaches is when they get to me in 7th grade, we'll figure it out. It'll be okay. We just need to get them to 7th grade. We just need to let them mature. Some kids will take off more than others at a young age, and that's okay. If you can get them to me as a 7th grader, they're going to be fine. Everything's going to be good. Like I've learned, again, it's just trying to be more laid back, trying to be less controlled. Let them enjoy themselves. Let them have a good experience, and we'll figure it out from there. So we do let it start flying in 7th and 8th grade, and it looks bad. And I'm sure there's people that are going, what are they doing? Like, why this is terrible. This is terrible. Yeah, this is the demon. This is terrible. But that kid just broke a backboard. It happens. We're okay with it. We want them to have that mindset of letting it fly, because all of a sudden they get to be about 8th grade, 9th grade, special, and then 10th grade, and all of a sudden they have the strength. All of a sudden they have all the tools, and they have the mindset already installed. And that's been the biggest part, is can we get that hurdle of not having a fear of shooting a basketball? And I think that's been I think back to my own playing career. When you missed a shot, you just felt like you let everyone down, and we don't allow that to happen, because the goal was to take the shot. You accomplished the goal. If it goes in, that's a byproduct. It's okay. If it doesn't go in, that's okay too, because if it doesn't go in, that's an opportunity to rebound the basketball, and we get to do it again.
That's I love that, because so many times we get focused on the results as coaches, right? Especially December, it's like, all right, our first couple games, we're gonna focus on the process. And all of a sudden it's January, it's like, oh, I got a big game. It's like, oh God, we're down by 8, and you're grabbing, you're clutching, and you're squeezing, you're mad at yourself. You're like, all right, well, you start focusing too much on the result, but that process is key, because it shouldn't be about if the shot went in, because it's got to be about if you're taking a good shot. What gets me to my next point is, we talked. It was 20 minutes on the philosophy, which is great, because I think that's such a huge component of what you guys do. But talk about what your actual offense is, either from the transition and then into the half court.
So we've changed positions, so we don't have the traditional positions of basketball. So we have creator, shooter, tandem, and big. Those are the 4 positions we have. And so we want guys to fall into those positions. And so we talk to them when they're in 7th grade, and we talk to them about what our positions are, what they mean, how do we think that, then we say, where do you think you're going to fall? And we let them kind of have a little bit of freedom in terms of, like, this is where I want to move my skill set towards. So a creator is a in facto point guard. His job is to get us into our offense. His job is to get the ball up the floor. He's going to be our ball handler, our passer. It's not that he doesn't have the ability to do other things, but like that is his main responsibility, is he has to take care of those things. Shooters are shooters. That's it's the easiest explanation. Their job is to shoot the ball. Our bigs are usually don't always necessarily have the big size, but usually don't have the shooting ability. And so we had to find a way to get kids to have a role that didn't have the best, we're shooting under 30%. And so we created this big role. You're finishing around the rim. Your goal is to rebound. You are setting lots of off screens and rolling. You just all these things. And then our tandem is actually a defensive position. Their job is to guard the opposing team's best player, regardless of who it is, skill set, size. Their job is to guard the opposing team's best player, and then they fall into an offensive role based on who they're with. So those are our four positions, and it's funny because now that we've been doing it a while, we're having our off season now, and our 7th and 8th graders talking about what position they're going to have and what position their teammates are going to have and how it's going to fit. And so for the most part, we let them kind of figure it out, but we just tell them we put them on the depth chart where they are. So I always use the football analogy. Every kid wants to be quarterback. That's fine. You just might be the 12th string quarterback. You could be the starting offensive lineman, but you wanted to be quarterback, so you might be the 12th string quarterback. Hey, coach, I want to be a shooter. All right, man, you're our 46th shooter. When we get to that point where we need the 46th guy to come in, you are it. But if you want to be a tandem, you're going to be number 2. So we try to have it like that. And the big thing is we go through roles, we go through positions, we go through all this. And the big thing that we push with our guys is that they're all equal. We need them all. It doesn't work if we don't have all the things. And so we want guys to have pride in what they are. We do our roles. We have dude, energizer, leader, glue guy, and winner. And so we assign those roles to each varsity guy, and they're assigned by their teammates. So we sit down at the beginning of the year, and we have a big meeting, and we talk about each kid in front of them, in front of everyone. We say, what do we think this guy's role needs to be? And so the guys, they vote and they talk about it, and they're like, we need this guy to be a winner. We need this guy to be an energizer. We need this guy. And we talk it out, and we let the kid say what he thinks. And then when a couple weeks, we do it again, and we say, has anything changed? Has it changed? Do we need this guy to be something else for us? Is this guy not doing the role that we need him to do? And we write it all down. We want to make sure we have everything covered. We have enough energizers, because that's a big part of our program. We need energy all the time. So we want to make sure we have lots of energizers. And then when the energy is low, guess who's responsible to get it back? We make sure that comes out. I was talking to Coach Dave Naslin the other day from Onamia, and he said, one of my favorite things, you got a kid coming off the bench, and it was really low, and he looks at the bench, and he's like, where are the energizers? Why is it so quiet? It's already established. That's the role. That's your job. So we try to, just like positions, we want the roles to be, I don't know if even's the right word, but they're all equal in terms of valuable. We need them all. They all have to be accomplished for the boat to go forward. So we've kind of created those weird things within the program. But again, it all comes back to buy-in. It all comes back to getting kids to believe in what you're selling. And that's been the thing that we've kind of built over the time, and in terms of like where we started. When we started, we were like, all right, we're going to shoot threes and layups. Well, that's great. I mean, and I get these emails all the time from coaches that are like, hey, we want to implement your system. So do we just shoot a lot of threes and layups? That's like the surface. I mean, that's just the bare minimum in terms of what we do. It's grown so much in terms of everything. But the big thing we come back to is everything that we implement and everything we put in has to relate back to the core values, has to relate back to the numbers, has to relate back to what we're trying to do. Otherwise, we take it out, and we don't do it.
So are you more, and I'm trying to make you guys, maybe I'm trying to fit a round peg into a square hole with you here. Are you traditionally more 5 out, 4 out? Are you looking more stagger screens, ball screens, passing and cutting? What would be the general actions that you're running within your offense?
I would say we have all that in. A lot of it is matchup based, and probably even more of it is skill set based. What kids do we have? So we've run a double ball screen offense when I had 2 guys that could handle the ball. And then when I had 1 guy that handled the ball, we took that out, and we didn't run it anymore. So I would say it's really based on play. And when I say, like, I let the kids freelance, I let them freelance. So, like, we give them the skill sets of, like, here's how you set a stagger screen. Here's how you set a flare screen. And here's the spots you can set it. And then we let them play. So I think we put in set plays every year, and we have motion offenses at our disposal that we've been, fortunate enough to put in over the years. And so we can pull from it. Like, we have the flex in. I mean, we really do. I don't see us running it, but we have it in place. My guys could go out there and run it right now. It would be terrible, but they could do it. So we have all these things set in place. And what we do is we kind of start the year with this pile. And as the year goes on, we shrink it down and we say, okay, this is who our identity is on the offensive end. When we need a play, here's our 3 plays we're going to go to. When we need to run a set offense to get ourselves settled, here's what we're going to do. But the goal is to score in transition or to score off a freelance every time. And then the only reason that we would call something is if they need direction, if like they need a grounding moment. And then I got to figure out what their grounding plays are. Like, these are the things that are going to bring them back to get them in the mindset that they need to be in. They need to see success right now. This is a play. This is a set that I can call that will give them that success right now, and then get back to going crazy. Then get back to just doing what we do.
Transition offense, can anyone take it up the floor, or you only want it to be in the creator's hand?
Anyone can, but the creator always circles back just in case. So bigs make rim runs. I don't think that's anything crazy. Our shooters get to spots, and then it transitions. So if the creator has the ball, that makes life easiest on everyone, because then everyone has their role. But if a shooter's bringing the ball up, now the creator has to become a shooter or a big based on what their personnel would be on that floor. And we don't necessarily run it in terms of like we want to bring up the middle, but we don't have we're going to set the down screen here and the side screen here, and then we're going to do the flare out here. Again, we just let them play. We say, these are the spots. This is the skill sets you have. Here's what we've taught you in terms of screens. Here's what you need to be able to recognize. Now go play. And at the beginning of the year, it's jumbled. I mean, it always is. And, that's when they're learning. And the hope is that by the end of the year, you've practiced it enough, you've watched enough film, they've seen themselves do it, and by the end of the year, they can recognize and make those decisions where they couldn't at the beginning of the year. And so it's that we have to stick with that process. So when you talk about like focusing on the process, I think that's our whole year. Like, we talk a lot about statting the process. We don't want to, again, the shot goes in or it doesn't go in. Did we get a shot? That's the question. So not that like the kid led the assist, but did the kid make the pass to the right spot? That's what we're looking at all the time in terms of like, that's what we felt we had to do to be able to run a freelance offense. Because I just couldn't get kids to do it. And maybe it's on me. Maybe it's like a coaching fault of mine that like I can't get a kid to run the flex, or I can't get a kid to run a set play over and over and over again. But that's what we believe in. We just let them play. And then we have things that bring us back. But the hope is that by the end of the year, they are able to recognize what the right thing to do in that situation is.
How do you drill this in practice so it applies to a game situation?
We scrimmage. We play. We play a lot. That was my assistant coach in college. He was all about playing. Like, he was like, we're practicing to play. Why don't we play? Makes sense to me. So we do segments. We let them pick teams sometimes. Sometimes we pick teams. Sometimes we stagger a team. We make one team just going to beat down this other team. We do it all kinds of ways. We'll do 7-on-5. We'll do we try to mix it up as much as possible. So, but we want to play almost every day. We want to let them play basketball and have those. So the concepts, though, that we break down, this is probably a better answer to your question. So now we're going to say, all right, today we're going to teach you how to do a curl screen. We're going to teach you how to do a stagger screen. We're going to teach you how to do this. And the good news is that by the time they reach JV varsity, they already have this skill set. So now it's just review. But then we just put the drills in place, and we say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Do the drill. Again, everything ends in a layup. Everything ends in a 3. Everything ends in what we want it to end in. And then we go play. And now we go do it. So this is what we're working on. We're working on stagger screens. All right, so now I want them both sides set in stagger screens. So now the defense knows that the stagger screen's coming, which is even better because now the offense has to beat the defense that knows the stagger screen's coming. We try to do things like that to we want the scrimmages to be cheat codes. We want the defense to know and the offense to know, and we want them to have to beat each other even though they know what they're doing. Then now you have to guard the slip. Now you have to guard the everything else. It kind of makes you focus on all the every others.
I think you answered the question exactly what I was looking for by saying that you played the game. I think so many times we've had great coaches on here who I love hearing from them, but we play the game too. A lot of coaches like to drill, which is fine. If that works for them, that's great. And you mentioned that's what your program does, especially when you don't have scholarship level kids who you're working with. You got to get kids exposed to basketball. And I also bet the Chris Oliver with the Basketball Immersion podcast, he talks about this a lot too. And I fully believe this, especially when you have a new group coming in. By playing a lot of 5-on-5, it makes you a better coach. You start to see things differently. You start to watch kids' habits where they'd rather be on the court, who plays well with who, what rotations seem to click, what groups, or maybe you got a couple kids that you just got to keep off the floor because their skill sets are too similar and they're not dynamic enough. And I just think it makes the players better, but I also think it helps the coaches as well.
And I'm going to admit this. I'm hoping no current players listen to this. I still get to run with the guys a little bit, and I definitely do it during the season. And I learn as much being on the floor with them as I am watching them. I'm at the point now where I can't keep up with them, so I hope they're not listening in. I hope they don't know that I'm saying this. But like, I learn as much being out there in the middle of it with them as I do anywhere else. And so I'm fortunate enough to be able to still have that. We had it shoot the other day. We were going up and down, and a kid, I guarded him differently, and I just wanted to see what his reaction was. I just wanted to see what he would do if I did something different. And then him and I can have that conversation afterwards. I can say, hey, I know this is what happened and you're not used to this. Why did you react the way you did? How did, it opens up the conversation so much better for me to be able to have that. And I guess that's part of the, the control issues that we have as coaches. But yeah, I think that I've let go, let kids play, let them experience it. You can fix mistakes. We tape every practice, so we can always go back and look at it, and we can show a kid what we liked or didn't like or what we saw or didn't see. But yeah, it's about putting it into the game setting. And so, what's the game setting? Let's play. And again, we don't always do it 5-on-5, but we don't always do it evenly. But a game's not always evenly. So again, craziness. We do it a little differently, and we hope it works.
We're at about 40 minutes here, so try to wrap up here in the next 5 minutes or so. I got a few things on the list that we had talked about in text. I think we kind of hit on with your relationships and your program unity within your roles and stuff, and just giving kids freedom. I think that's going to obviously, help build the relationships. Having your energizer and your glue guy and those different roles, I think, are huge in building those relationships and having an identity and a unity as a program where everyone understands their role and how they fit into the program. But I want to talk about scouting, because you guys do definitely play a unique style of play, which it's probably hard to get a good scout on teams. I always make sure to watch your guys' game versus North Branch, because we play definitely not shooting 63s a game, but we play fast and we get our share of threes up. And so it's a good better scout for us than maybe some other teams would be. How do you scout knowing that your style is so much different than the teams that are playing your upcoming opponent?
So part of it is we pick a few teams and we that we don't play, and we make that play a lot of similar teams as us, and we watch those. So we try to learn someone else's style, and that's helped me as a coach. I mean, just learning what another team does and really getting to know their personnel. So for instance, one we've used in the past is Mound West Tonka, and so I've gotten to know them and gotten to know their players, and we use different teams. We find a team and we try to use their team to be able to scout a little bit and to be able to see them. So I'll go watch the same team play 4 teams that we play, even though we don't play that team. And so then now I'm basing it off of their scout. I'm basing it off of their movements, their personnel, and now I'm putting our guys in there. So I saw what they did against this team that ran zone. Now I saw what they did against this team that ran man. Now I see, so on and so forth. And so it gives me my base. It gives me my back end. The biggest thing we do in scouting that I think is a little different is our guys scout. They come with me all the time. I walked into Princeton last year. I think I was scouting North Branch, and we walked in with 5 guys. We walk in, and now every kid's got a clipboard. Every kid's got a form, and we teach them how to scout. We teach them how to do it. We ate at a Chinese restaurant in Princeton. It was awesome. Guys were pumped.
That place is delicious.
It was awesome. They were so excited. They went to town. I think it was all you can eat, man. We were only supposed to be about a half hour. We were there an hour. We had guys putting down food. So we take them and we bring them with, and we teach them how to do it. And so in the beginning of the year, we really rely on our older guys that have done it. And now I'm getting not only my viewpoint, but I learn my guys' viewpoints, and I learn their strengths and weaknesses when they're watching, and we use it. We use all of the information that we get when we put together our scouting reports. And then as playoffs come, I know who I want to bring with me. I know who I want to send, who I want to go. We put out an all-call last year at the end of the year for playoffs for guys trying to go scout. Like I was asking, we had alumni going out and scouting. And I don't think that's out of the ordinary, but we, with our section, we were trying to scout 8 teams. We didn't know who we were going to play. And so we were scouting everyone and anyone. But all of our alumni have been taught how to scout this way. So we have a form that we use. We teach every guy how to do it. We bring them with. I would say every guy scouts probably 3 times on the low end, and probably my guys that are like my go-to scouters, they're probably coming with me maybe 10 times to go and scout throughout the year. And we utilize all that. We talk about it. We have the conversations, and then the best part is the ride home, because we're in the van, and it's like, all right, how are we going to guard this? And we just have that conversation, because it's fresh in their minds. They know. That's the beautiful part of having a system, is they know exactly what we're going to do. They know what our answer to the question is. They know there's no question that we know what we're going to do. And so now the question is, how are we going to implement it against Team A, Team B, Team C, whoever it may be? And so having those conversations with the guys, giving them input, giving them the ability to have a say in how we're going to do it, how we're going to drill it, how we're going to prep for it. I think it's been awesome. And it's probably one of my favorite parts of the job is that's when I get to know my guys. When we're out on the road and we're going to Princeton and we're going to go to the Chinese place in town and eat up the buffet, and Dylan Peterson's going to have 18 egg rolls. That's the best part, when we're out there doing that stuff, and that's the stuff that we really enjoy. So
how do you stat consumption at the buffet? What do you?
We go by plates. They have to be at least 60% full for it to be a plate completion, or they can have 100% full and leave up to 40%. But we don't like leaving. We're all about putting it down. You've never seen kids put down food than on a scouting trip, man. They're all about it. Oh yeah,
okay,
absolutely. Yeah.
Do you pay for that, or do you have like a boosters or association that pays for that?
A little bit, but we have a booster. We're very fortunate. We were able to form that a few years back, and when we do our booster that we talk about all the time, we feed our kids. I mean, we feed our kids all the time. It's our number one expense every year by a mile. We spend more money on food than anything else, and it's not close. We eat together a lot, and that's we talk about it, and we put in our letter. Food is family, and family eats around food, and that's what we do. And I know everyone says this, our basketball program's family. We're family, and I get it. But we try to do the things that are family. We show up at the parties. We are there when someone passes away. We are, we're eating together all the time. We're aware of what's going on in their lives, and vice versa. We have the tough conversations, and I think everyone's trying to do this. The word we use all the time is purposeful, and we just want to be purposeful in what we do. We want to be involved in everything they are, and that's not for everyone. We've had kids that are like, I don't want to be in basketball. That coach is crazy. He wants to know who I'm dating and wants to take me out for dinner and stuff. It's weird. It's not for everyone. We want to be a part of everything. We want to be a part of their lives. We want to be a staple in what they do. And after graduation, we talk to our alumni all the time. We want to be a part of it.
Coach, that's a great spot to end. I appreciate you taking time here on this Friday morning. This will be up here Monday, or this will be up Monday morning. I appreciate it. Definitely a different way of looking at the game, but I know I took a lot of stuff from this, more than maybe I do from most, just because our styles are similar. Obviously, we're not on the extreme end, but I really appreciate you coming on today, and I hope coaches get past that. Maybe it's a outstate 2A program, and they take the time to listen to this, because it was really good stuff. And definitely, it's my 34th episode, 32nd interview, and sometimes they can sound the same. And I think bringing you on and hearing your style of play and your philosophy is definitely different. And even if coaches aren't going to maybe dive into the Dragon style of play and let the demon take over, they definitely at least get some thinking. And I think that's the important part of coaching, especially this time of the year, when we're not in the middle of the grind of section games coming up and conference schedules, and you can be more reflective on your coaching. So really good stuff, Coach. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. It was fun.
Take care.
Thanks, Coach.